Welcome back to the Dream More Stay True channel. It's your boy Moon back here again for the part 2, the finale to the Mile to Marathon, Seattle Marathon 2024. My apologies on how long this is taking. The Los Angeles wildfires really slowed me down, and I was already just kind of recovering from the end of the year and being so busy with the holidays, and it's February, almost March, but here we are. I put on the clothes, I'm looking a little different, prepping for this next build that I've been working through. So let's talk about it. So just kind of like when we got to Seattle, we got there about a week before the marathon. The marathon would be Sunday, December 1st, 2024. And we arrived that Monday, just kind of prior to Thanksgiving, and my birthday was that Friday, which would be November 29th. So when we arrived, Franny's mom, my partner, was really sweet and supportive, and kind of took me around and drove us around and drove the route, and I got to see the Space Needle and see some iconic kind of like architecture and perspectives of Seattle. Couple photos of like me running through different parts of Seattle and some of the route and those different kind of things, just trying to test out and see how it feels as far as like, when you get off that plane, you're trying to like shake out all of those kinks. We were on my really cramped flight, packed flight, ironically, it's the holidays, so it's a little busy. But I had a Muritan stack. I had all of the electrolytes, all of the carbs. I was about to load. I was following, every Reddit chain, everything I could find as far as information, because I was not trying to hit a wall. I was not trying to find myself in the hurt locker in any kind of way. And I wasn't playing any games, like completely sober, hydrating, vitamins, every single thing, beetroot powder, L-glutamine, cordyceps, lion's mane, just constantly every day with my meals, etc. So you'll see my stack here is pretty epic. I got a lot of element electrolytes, really love those for the sodium. Got some 150 gels, 100 gels, caffeinated, non-caffeinated, and I kind of like work through those throughout some of my longer runs, as well as just testing things out. And I ordered a belt that I wore around my waist that I was able to like successfully put the gels in and pull them out when it was time. I had a couple water bottles, but I didn't take those on the course. Just kind of looking through my week, like, that taper week, so it's kind of scary because you're trying to taper, but I was running throughout Seattle. So we got there and we were in Seattle proper. Then we went out to Wenatchee, Washington to see some family and friends. And that was pretty cool, but it was a lot different because, we were out somewhere where it was snowing. It was extremely cold. It was like 28 degrees up there. So it was kind of like good to run in something that was going to be colder than the Seattle Marathon, because the Seattle Marathon turned out to be 38. And some of the days I actually ran, it was like 40 or 41 or 42. And that 40 or 41 or 42 felt amazing. But that 38 degrees, like, man, it's a big difference, an extremely big difference to those 2 degrees, especially, at the top of the morning, you get into the race, 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, trying to warm up, and it just was dark and cold, and it was a little hard. This is kind of just a photo of the Westin. That's where bib pickup was, as well as like kind of, along the lines of like where the race started and things like that for the expo. It's just kind of, so this is like actually a video of where the start was, and ironically in the beginning, it being in the dark, the leaders of the race kind of just blew out and made a wrong turn, and we got pushed back onto the course, but we probably ran like an extra, like, I don't know, 0.2, 0.3, which is a lot extra. You don't want to run any extra when you're running a marathon, you're trying to PB, but that happened, and somehow we got bounced around and then back into this area, which now when I look back on it, I should have known I was going the wrong way initially. But again, it was early in the morning, nerves were really high, things like that. But this is just kind of driving through, which is really nice. Franny's mom, shout out to you. Thank you so much, MA, for showing me around the city and taking me and really helping me understand the route that I was going to be running. And this is the highway that took up a big portion, a really extreme portion of the Seattle Marathon. And I remember going to the expo and a woman telling me like that's where the race was, and me being confused about it and not understanding that. And I was like, sure, I'm not worried about it. Hey, Cloudy, relax, boy. Get out of there. That's Mr. Cloud barking in the background. Got the train outside, big city vibes. But yeah, I learned a lot. It was just a subtle incline with this portion of the race, and essentially this was going to be our out and back. So in the beginning of the race, we were kind of going under the tunnel, and then we was coming up this incline, and on the back side, we took the same incline, but in reverse. So, you go up and then you go back down. We're on the back side when we came out of Green Lake, this big 3-mile loop lake that we ran twice. When we came back out, you climb this hill, and it just was like by that time you had ran so many hills, it was a lot. In total it was 1,286 feet of elevation gain accumulated throughout the entirety of the race, so that was a lot on the legs. But we'll talk about how that kind of presented itself later in the race. This is a photo of me and Franny. We're driving around. She dropped me off, and this is a portion of the course where you end up in kind of like a more foresty green area, which was lovely. It was a really nice day. It was folks, I think I seen like the cross country team from the university around there, and I just was running the route, testing out different spots. And honestly, like all of these parts of the race, when I got to it felt really good to know where I was and be back there again. And it gave me a lot of confidence going into race day. I really underestimated the portions of the race where we was going to be running on the highway. And also I should have ran at Green Lake, which I ran a 5K there a couple years ago. But that was a big portion of the race where I was trying to regroup, it was a more flat area and, simple basically 6 miles, basically a 10K, running this loop twice. But I couldn't shake that feeling of like having that pain in my legs. So we spent a couple of days in Seattle proper. Then we went up to Wenatchee to see family. Shout out to Rachel and Balta. It was really lovely. I feel like I seen a lot of different like things that had to do with like the apple, like farming culture, apple architecture. But like I said, I was up there. It was 28 degrees. I had to get some gloves. I usually don't run with gloves, but I was starting to reconsider what I needed for the Seattle Marathon. So eventually I would end up stopping at Nike and kind of getting my kit and everything going, and you'll see photos of my kit. But we had a really good feast. I was trying not to overeat, and I was trying to carb load and kind of keep things simple, but good dressing, turkey, sweet potatoes. So when we get back, and that's the thing too, I had to reconsider and think about was the traveling. So we were in the car and then getting out of the car, and it was like some long rides. Like I can't remember exactly how long it was. Maybe it was like 2 or 3 hours, but it was a little bit of time in the car. Definitely takes a toll on you and kind of cramping up and things. But we come back, it's my birthday, and this was hard, like just trying to stay sober and healthy before the marathon. And we went out for sushi and kind of had a night on the town. This is Franny sliding down some stairs, and we got to have some alone time and just be happy and spend some time together. It was a good night though. It was a good way to bring in being 35 and kind of knowing that I would be running a marathon. Here's a little cute photo of us. The next day we went to the fish market and we got some pasta and things like that. Really sweet spot. I know it's kind of touristy sometimes when you go to the places that are the focal points of a city, but it was really fun. Had an onion soup. I forgot exactly what restaurant this was. But like I said, I was trying to keep it light, so I wasn't trying to have any meats and things like that. Then me and Franny watched the sunset. She's wearing my hat that I'd be wearing the next day because I would be freezing. This is kind of like the newly remodeled aquarium, kind of a ocean front. Here are my 2 bottoms. So yeah, night before kind of had a little light salad. I think that was the table salad. I didn't eat that entire salad. Just drinking water. This is probably around like somewhere between 3 and 5. I was trying to eat super early because I wanted to get to sleep by like 7. Trying to get all of this sleep. So I had a little bit of beets, just pasta. Kept it real light on the sauce and everything. This is my kit. I was going back and forth about carrying a bottle. Ended up not carrying a bottle. So I wore that kind of a salmon top, and that was really helpful. I just bought that from a thrift store, and I ditched that somewhere throughout the race. So hopefully somebody got that. I had some arm sleeves, had my cotton gloves, had my Nike Aeroswift bottoms and top, and I had my Nike Vaporflies. I felt amazing. I was ready. This is game time. It's time to go. Like, this is what we got to do. This is what we came for, month after month, stacking those bricks, ready to go. Every day I woke up early in the morning, 5 in the morning, 5:30, 5:45, 6:30, sometimes at night doing doubles. I had to do this. It was time. I was so happy. I was so stoked. I had so much anxiety, but I was ready. So this is a photo that Franny took on the course, and this is probably one of the first times that I came across them, and this was probably, if I remember correctly, around mile 7, where we went through the university. I felt pretty good at that point. This is another portion of the race. I believe at this point I was at mile 10 or mile 13, and I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling pretty solid. This is another clip from when I got to Green Lake, and Green Lake I think was around the half marathon to 16 mile marker, somewhere around there. And like I said, you do 2 loops around there, and I think by that time the hills had caught up with me. I was trying to regroup. I thought I was going to be able to drop pace, and I wasn't able to get back into that 750 range, and it was really kind of breaking me mentally. I didn't know how I was going to finish, and I was trying my best to stay under 4 hours, and it just didn't work out that way. This is me finishing the race and coming through the finish line, and Franny and Hannah Phelan, really good, sweet friend of Franny's that I consider a friend of mine as well, just really cheering me on, and I was able to finish strong. So let's just kind of talk about some of the data. Here's some photos of me and Franny. Me standing like a real G. So let's talk about it. So like I said, we took a wrong turn at the beginning of the race. First mile was a 7:26. Second mile was 8:12. Third mile I was trying to settle in at 8:29. Then the fourth mile I was like, all right, I feel pretty comfortable. So that's when I got to about a 7:20. Fifth mile 8:11. Sixth mile 7:46. So around that 6 mile, the elevation's kind of been in the negative at that point, so it's good. In 7th mile 8:44, 8th mile 8:12, 9th mile 8:31. So this entire time I'm just kind of playing around, moving through different packs, weaving people. At the beginning of the race, you're kind of going through those kind of logistics of trying to find where you are. Then around mile 10 to 12, that's kind of where things get a little, the elevation starts to kick in. So I get a little hot and bothered out there trying to find myself. Mile 11, 9:02, mile 12, 9:37. But then when I get to that half marathon mark, that's probably around the time, where I start to feel the energy. I'm engaging people. I'm going through my gels. I brought 8 Muriton gels on the course with me, had one before, 20 minutes before, and then I was just kind of filling it out. I was doing it every 30 to 40 minutes or every 20 to 30 minutes, just kind of depending on how I was feeling from, mile to mile, while also just kind of drinking the electrolytes that were on the course. But yeah, going into mile 13 at 8:26 and then mile 14 at 8:46, I still felt pretty good. Now at mile 15, that's when the 204 feet of elevation come, and I drop down to a 10:10. At that point, I'm scared. I'm like, oh my goodness, am I hitting the wall? I was not trying to run any 9-minute miles or any 10-minute miles, but I was like, all right, how am I going to overcome this? So at mile 16, I'm running 9:45. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna shake back. 17, I come down to 9:11. 18, I come down to 9:27. 19, I come down to 9:21. So I'm just fighting. I'm really trying to fight my way back into like a 8-minute 7:50 pace, and I'm just not able to do it. And this has nothing to do with like fuel. I think my legs were just taking a big beating when it came to those hills, and it just started to add up over time, And I think there was like some things I could have did. I felt so strong. I feel like I was in the gym, but it just, you don't know. It's my first marathon. So yeah, going into mile 17 at 9:11, then mile 18 at 9:27, mile 19 at 9:21, mile 20 at 9:29, mile 21 at 9:23, and I'm like, oh goodness, I got 5 more miles left. And yeah, there you go, mile 23 or mile 22 at 10:05, jump back into the 10s. Then mile 23, probably my worst mile, at 11 minutes. Then mile 24 at 10:29. Then mile 25 at 11. I was breaking down at this point. I was like about to cramp up, and I was just fighting through. Every time I would break out, I would break into like an 8:50 pace, and I would drop back down. But I finished strong at 9:04, and then I just tried to give it all I had for that last 0.6 for 9:41. So officially, I ran 4:01. Strava gave me a 3:58. But officially, I ran a 4:01. So for the day, I burned 3,300 calories. Like I said, 1,186 feet of elevation gain. It's crazy. I kept my heart rate pretty good. I think that was just from some of those slower miles. I just was trying to preserve what I had. Throughout the marathon build, I was kind of like alluding to a story of a phoenix falling and rising from the ashes. But I think overall, I'm extremely happy for my first marathon to be a 4:01. Pretty much, I feel like I would have, without the wrong turn, I probably would have ran like a 3:57. So I do feel like a sub 4-hour marathoner, and I was gearing up to run the Los Angeles Marathon, but I missed the mark just on my fault by not registering early enough. It sold out. The Dodgers won, the Fires. A lot of people are looking to do something, I feel like, with the energy, and running is a beautiful thing. And I recommend, everyone go out and try to run in some capacity if you can. But I'll be running for charity. I'm going to have the link in the bio below. I'll be running the charity half marathon, which takes place the same time as the LA marathon. So I'll be running 13.1 or 13.6 or something like that for charity, and I'm raising $650. So please give what you can if you can give anything, and that money's going to neurological research and kind of bringing awareness to how to help fight against those different diseases. But overall, I feel extremely blessed, and I'll be running the Chicago Marathon at the end of the year, so that'll be my next big marathon build throughout the summer. Spend a lot of time running 10Ks, and thank you for following me through this journey. Apologies on how long it's taken. Dream more, stay true. Peace.